Welcome to the City of Newark's Caribbean Commission segment, where we are using this platform to inform, to engage, to educate, and to even discuss issues that we can recommend as policy to the City of Newark. My name is Esther Lours, and I am the Public Relations Officer. I'm also a 21-year educator here in the City of Newark and an adjunct professor at NJIT. Today, we have with us Commissioner Alyssa King, who is from Guyana, and we also have our expert guest, Miss Jennifer Rampersad, who's going to talk to us about wealth building, and everything in between that can help us to get from where we are to where we want to be. And at this time, I would like to ask Commissioner King to introduce herself. Don't leave anything out. Let us know about your achievements, any challenges, and what are your aspirations.
Okay, well, thank you for that wonderful introduction. I'm definitely glad to be here with you today, finally joining you. So Commissioner Alyssa King, here, Commissioner on the City of Newark's Caribbean Commission, representing Guyana. That's where my parents are from. I'm just active in the community. I do many things with different boards. So I'm on the St. Vincent Alumni Association board. I sit as the treasurer there. I currently work at Rutgers University as a business assistant.
Okay, awesome.
The payroll and the reconciling the accounts, so important stuff. But my passion does lie with being active in the community, getting to know people, getting to know the issues that people are facing, and potentially recommending policy for those issues.
Awesome. So she's definitely a key fit for the commission. As I mentioned before, one of our goal in the ordinance that when the commission was formed is to be able to recommend policies. So I am looking forward to using those expertise and learning to do just us for the Caribbean community. And at this time, Miss Rampersad.
My name is Jennifer Rampersad, and I was actually born in Guyana, migrated at the age of 14 to two phenomenal parents. My beginnings were very humble beginnings, and I learned about credit at a very young age. So I do credit repair. I have a credit repair company. I also do hard money or traditional lending and private lending. I am also an investor, real estate investor, and starting now doing development in real estate, as well as a contractor and a minister. So, the whole process of wealth building when it comes to real estate, that's where I know how to build wealth. And that's why I want to let our community to know, because knowledge is key. So I also am the host and producer, engineer, or everything for my own radio show, awesome. Wealth Building with Jen, which is on 93.5 FM daily, 6 days a week. So I'm proud of that because I have an outlet to teach our communities how to start on the process.
As three women sitting here, I think it's important that we, learn to share our story, whether it's just to let people know who we are and what we do, because if we don't, who's going to tell it for us? And also to make sure that we're telling our story so that others can be inspired to either get from where they are to where they want to be and not knowing how to do it. And so your story might, inspire another little Caribbean girl sitting at home watching this show.
Absolutely.
So, thank you for introducing yourself. Yes. So where do we want to start? I know I am definitely looking forward to hearing some of these techniques as to how to build wealth.
Right.
And so,
So my concept is basically to build generational wealth, but breaking generational curses at the same time. There's some taboo from whatever culture we come from, and it's imperative that we identify what they are and then take them on head on. For me, when I came here at 14 years old, like I said, humble beginnings, and my parents are hard worker. I wanted to be like them, but just better. I saw them work so hard. Right. They owned their own home a year and a half after they came to this country, but for me, working 2 and 3 jobs, it was too much. So I started college at 16. When you go on that campus, they give you that application.
Right. Absolutely.
I think I'm the only person in the world that read that application, And I'm like, wait a minute, I can use people money and
Right.
pay it back later. That was a big plus for me because my parents worked very hard. And, I wasn't able to get certain things like other children were, but they paid for our education. We had a home to live on, roof to live on. It was a house, and they did that. So I wanted to do that and more. Finding out about credit is one of the best things that you can ever, it gives you a better quality of life. Mm-hmm. It allows you to be able to acquire things that you never could before. Mm-hmm. When people think about credit, they think about just buying a home or car. Mm-hmm. Credit is so much deeper. When you get insurance, do you know that they run your credit to get insurance? And that depends on how much you're going to pay each month.
Right.
When you go for a job, especially in the financial aspect, they're running your credit. Mm-hmm. I had a friend that she had a couple of late payments and she was denied the position. Right. It's imperative that our community understand that wealth building and gaining generational wealth has to do with credit. So that's the first, I advise everyone to get a credit monitoring system. Right. And what that is will enable you to see, and this is what trial and error. I'm not perfect. I'm the founder, CEO, and also a client. So, I've fallen a few times or had some bumps in the road. So I just want everyone to know, don't think if your credit is bad that it's finished. It's not.
Right.
There are laws in place and they can work for you or against you. And just understanding it. So your credit report is your report card thus far, your financial report card, which will enable you to do things or hinder you. Mm-hmm. You could have $1 million, but the house is 1.2 million. Where are you getting the other 200,000 from? Mm-hmm. You understand? So, and I believe in using other people's money to make money and to acquire more wealth. Mm-hmm. I also have properties. I have a few Airbnbs and rental property. And, having good credit, you're able to use that to acquire one home. The equity in that house, you're able to take that equity and now acquire another. Right. So, real estate for me is the appreciating asset that I use to build wealth, know, and there's so many tax incentives. There's so many tax deduction. In addition to that, real estate, you can have cash flow every single month, and people might say that the people that might not pay their rent, that's in everything you do, there's going to be pros and cons. So you have to figure out how to mitigate them, right? But why am I paying $3,000 rent for a 2-bedroom apartment when I can possibly pay a mortgage of $3,000? Do you know how much $3,000 in over 30 years is? It's over $1 million.
So I mean, I'm just looking at you because I know this is, very important information, and I can just imagine how, our residents can take this in and act on it. And so, before I go, do you have any question off the bat, Commissioner King?
Well, off the bat, no, I was just thinking how that was like a perfect opening to our discussion about breaking generational curses and bringing up the part about rent. I know people in our community, most people are very leery about credit, using credit, applying for credit. Some of that is due to, fear of rejection, but also just access to information and how to utilize it, responsibly. That's the most important part. I was sitting in a presentation the other day down in Rutgers, New Brunswick, about the commodification of land. And basically was just talking about how purchasing land allows you to build wealth and allows you to get power, right? So there's basically a pipeline for that in our society. And I think it's just important that we share the information so that people can access the pipeline.
I want to make, to your point, people are fearful of purchasing instead of renting. I'm going to give you a perfect example. A lot of people are like, the most money that you will have to buy a house is the closing costs. The closing costs, depending which state you're in, it's maximum 6% of what the loan amount is. So if your loan amount is $600,000, your closing cost is going to be $36,000. I have real estate companies that are giving you 100% seller's concession. So that's 6%. They're not handing you that money, but they're allowing you to put it into your mortgage,
Right.
finance it into your mortgage. So you don't have to come up with that, right? The government has allocated money and is giving out grants for down payment assistance programs. Like right now, there's one, like I'm partner also in a real estate company. So the real estate company, they enable you, help you to get up to 15,000. It was 40,000 in the pandemic, but now it's 15. I think the program that's out, right?
Okay.
So if you're able to get now 15,000 towards down payment. So now we took care of the closing costs, and now you have the down payment. Down payment for a house that's 600,000 or 500, somewhere around it, is going to be about 20,000. Let's just call it, for number's sake, say 20,000. Now you're getting from the government, you're getting a grant that you never have to pay back. 15,000. So now you have to come up with $5,000. Go get an apartment. They want first month rent, second month rent, broker's fee, your first child, some DNA. You know, there's so much that they require of you.
Right.
You know, and then they check your credit. And if your credit is bad, no, give us 4 months rent. I had a client, and people speak with such conviction. The interest rate is high. Absolutely, the interest rate is high right now. Do you know that the rent has gone up 18% as well?
Definitely.
When are we going to stop financing the landlord dreams and
Right.
finance our own?
Right.
You know, I'm a landlord too, so I don't mind. You know, I'm a landlord too, so I don't mind having tenants. But there's a season in your life, you know. Why? You know, I've had people call and say, "Oh, I've been renting for 25 years, Jen, and I don't know what to do." You know, I advise them on their taxes, what to do, their credit. You know, the real estate company that will help them to do certain things, and then, in addition to that, like, if you are so concerned, right? Did you know that when you buy a multi-family house, that first apartment is not going to be counted towards your income, but the second and third apartment, some programs 75% of that is count towards your income. So a lot of people's like, oh, I don't make enough money. There's not enough income. Another thing, 4 people can't go on a mortgage.
Right.
So you have Uncle Seafred over here renting a basement apartment for $1,000. You have Sherry Ann over here renting a room with someone for $1,200, and you have Elisa over here renting an apartment for $2,000. Why are we coming together?
Right.
Why are we coming together and rent? And then guess what? There's up to 4 people can go on a mortgage, and there's something called non-occupant co-signers. You don't have to live in the property. There's so many reasons that you can get through, and a lot of people, the education's not out there. And then another thing, I'm sorry, I just
keep going.
There's also different forms of income. Oh, I only make this. What about your grandmother with Social Security? What about your pension? What about child support? What about alimony? All these things are forms of income. Oh, I don't have no money. Do you pay into your 401k? Do you know that you can use some of that money for your down payment? These are all different ways that you can become a homeowner.
Right.
You know, and this is about breaking generational curse. I know when I came here, I wanted to have a big white house with picket fence. Now I understand that the fence bring down the value of the house. I want no fence. You know? So, you know, the thing about it is understanding where you are, but setting goals that are beyond you. Like my goals are beyond me.
Right.
You know, I want to be a multi-billionaire. Forget multi-millionaire. You know, God has blessed me. You know, I put him at the center of everything I do. But I'm able to connect with the right people. You know, I have a mentor that's a developer, you know, but I put myself in those rooms, you know, and being in the right place at the right time also count. But that credit is so important. I would never stop doing credit, because a lot of times I listen, it's so frustrating because people don't listen when, you know, I have a credit repair company, and it's just that I just can't, because it's the stepping stones to so many things. Right. And being able to educate our people about the importance of it, you know. I constantly educate myself as well, because the laws change.
Right.
Like they just, you know, there's different credit bureaus. The 3 major ones that we know about, Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion, but there are other ones also. And there are other like there's the FICO score and the Vantage score. You have to know the difference. Like Credit Karma, everybody loves Credit Karma. They just got sued the other day for false information, telling people they're pre-approved for this, and that people don't understand. Pre-approval doesn't mean you're approved. They didn't run your credit as yet, and they got sued. But Credit Karma gives you a Vantage score. A Vantage score is not what you're using to get mortgages. It's not what's being used for credit card.
Right.
A FICO score is. And then there are different variations of FICO score, you know?
How far away is it from the actual? So, just in terms of having access to it, to have a gauge as to where you are, would you say it's still useful?
It's good to have a gauge. I'm always totally transparent, like with my radio platform. That's why I think that people, relate to me so well. I was telling Alicia about this the other day. Something simple as a late payment can drop your credit score from anywhere from 50 to 75 points. I'm going to tell you a perfect example. I co-signed on my daughter's car. She traded the car in, and she got a new car. She went to the dealer. The dealer owns the car now, right? As of the 27th of September, the dealer owns the car. The payment was due on the following month, October 5th or 6th or 7th, whatever the date was. My mother passed away. I wasn't checking my credit every 2 weeks because I checked my credit. 2 months passed and my credit score has dropped with a late payment. Not only a late payment, the car was also paid off. So anytime you close an account, you lose points. My credit score was 185 points lower. It was like in the five. I almost had an aneurysm. Like I'm like, oh my God, how does and I'm a true believer. If you're a hairdresser, your hair should look good. So if I'm teaching wealth building, I should have some wealth. And if I'm teaching credit, then my credit should exactly.
Right.
So I'm like, oh my God, I felt like everyone is looking at me, and I freaked out. The point is that I should have followed up. I should have checked my credit. I could sue that car dealership now, because it was their fault. They owned, but I was able to fix it. The point that I'm trying to make is that credit is imperative to understand your credit when you're using it. And then car credit is different. Tier 1, Tier 2, they're, credit, understanding credit on a whole is like a lesson in college that you're taking.
So I had a similar situation with my student loan where I applied for loan forbearance, summertime, we don't get paid as educator. And I thought it went through, but it didn't. So I didn't make a payment. And of course, those student loan is like 4 loans or, combined. So you miss a payment and it's like 4 loans reported. So that.
Yeah.
Speaking of forbearance, in the pandemic, I kept preaching to people, please do not take the forbearance if you can afford it. I'm telling them, listen, you're going to have to pay back that full amount in total before you can, continue your regular mortgage. So a lot of people didn't. Then I get hundreds of calls, like when we're out of the pandemic. I took the forbearance. I know they want $25,000 from me. Where am I going to get it from? I'm laid off. And guess what happened now? They can't pay their mortgage. All these people are going to go into foreclosure. So now the banks were offering modification. And the misconception about modification is that, I can tell them I make a little bit of money and my loan is going to be less. That's not what it is.
Right.
When they're modifying your loan, they're modifying your loan based on your income. And if your income doesn't show that you could afford this mortgage, you're totally screwed. You're in foreclosure. So a lot of those people that took the forbearance, they are going to be in foreclosure because they could not modify. They couldn't afford to do it. Right. And the banks, I blame them that they didn't educate our community well enough. But I was on there. The credit card companies were different now. They were allowing you to do forbearance, putting the payments behind and not reporting late. Because they're not supposed to report late if you're in forbearance. And another misconception, like a lot of people didn't know, like you have to be out of forbearance depending on the program and pay your mortgage, pay up that back amount and your mortgage for her entire year before you can refi. And these are all things that people are not told. So please do your research before you get involved in anything. Make sure that you're doing your research, you're understanding the program that you're going to be in and what you need to do,
Right.
So It's a lot. I know it's a lot,
Yeah.
but you know, that's why we have experts in different fields. You
Exactly.
know, I can't give somebody a nose job because I'm not a doctor. I'm not a
Right,
plastic
right,
surgeon.
right.
You know, so know your lane. Like you
Right.
know, my thing is like knowing your lane and understanding and seeking out the expert. Like I believe in team. Very independent woman. You know, I was a single mom for many years. I raised my daughter by myself. I was married at 18. Guyanese, you know, can't date, can't have boyfriend. You got
Right.
for married. So I married the first guy I could hold on to. You know, I was 18 years old. Had my daughter at 22, but I did buy my first house at 18. So,
Nice.
you know, so I raised my daughter as a single mom. You know, and the challenges that I faced doing it. That's why I want everybody out there to know that you can do it. You can do it. You are your worst enemy or your best asset. And just, you know that in the beginning, because you might say that I can't do it, but there might be a program out there for single mothers. At the time I didn't know about it, but there might be a program out there for single mothers that you can get, you know, some kind of assistant to help you. You know, there are programs out there for teachers, you know, there are different mortgage programs, and one that I'm very passionate about because I love elderly people and the children. The middle people, the adults, no, I'm just kidding. I just love, you know, because I feel like they can't help themselves because once a child, twice an adult, right? Once an adult, twice a child, excuse me. So there's a program called Reverse Mortgage in the pandemic, and a lot of our West Indian people have worked hard. Very hard. They do live-in jobs and they work 24 hours. So they look forward to this retirement now so they can live a little. Problem is, when they're retired, that pension and Social Security can't afford the mortgage. I had a man call me and he said, Jennifer, I'm eating sardine and rice every day. Me and my wife, we get from our pension $2,300 and the mortgage is $27,000. Can you imagine that? How are they surviving? So there's something called a reverse mortgage, you know, for our 62 and older population. You got to be 62 and older, and your house have to have equity in it. So these people paid their mortgage. It's 20 years in. They only have 10 years left, and they probably have so much equity. Let's call it 50% equity in their house. Now, this program allows them to have that equity pay their mortgage every month. They're responsible for the taxes and insurance, but they're not responsible for the mortgage. And I also can have I can cash out money as well, depending how much equity you have and your age. There's a formula that the government perfected. Back in the days, the problem with reverse mortgage was there was a flaw, and a lot of people are fearful. There was no formula in place. And the people that were doing this reverse mortgage, they were lending on 100% of the equity. So now if they say, okay, you're going to live till 90 and you live till 100, at 90 you maxed out the equity in your house. What happens? You're upside down. They're going to take your house from you. You understand? There's no more equity for you to live on. You're in a negative standings, right?
Okay.
So that was one thing. The second thing is people that do mortgages, I'm a lender, so, you know, but people that do mortgages, not educating the people. If you have a son or daughter, if you have family, you want them to be beneficiary, put them on the deed. And another thing is you can come out of a reverse mortgage. I take people out all the time. I have a mother. And
Was there a certain time, like
No.
a certain period where,
no.
you know,
Right. Because I know, so reverse mortgage is a big
it was
thing in the
back in
community.
the day, yeah.
And so, like you said before,
many
something
flaws.
happened.
So I'm
I
gonna tell
don't
you.
know about what happened, but now you're saying that there are regulations
Changes.
that
They are,
changes
and then
that
you
remedy
have.
that.
So if I'm a lender, I'm calling you to tell you about reverse mortgage. You have to go through a program as well, a class by a certified teacher that you have to get signed off. Like Jennifer educated me. She told me this because the misconception, they weren't putting the family members on the deed, and they weren't. And when the family passed away, they were losing the homes. They didn't have a will, or they didn't have, you know how that works. The state will come in and, you know.
Right,
But
right.
either way, now if you're in a reverse mortgage and I put you in a reverse about 5 years ago, you won the lottery, whatever is going on, you're like, Jen, I want to come out. Absolutely. Absolutely. If you say, you know what, my son that's on the title, I want to take him out. I want to give the house. I can do a gift of equity sale and have you, so your mom put you in on the deed, and your mom's still alive, and I want to give my daughter this house. I could do a gift of equity. You don't come out your pocket a penny. The down payment, the closing costs, everything is coming out of that equity in the house. You know, so there are things out there to help our people in our community, but lack of education is what the problem is. Veteran loan, you don't put no money down or no closing costs. You have to have one more thing. With the reverse mortgage, you could be in foreclosure. It's not credit driven. Your credit could be bad. Your house could be up for auction. Doesn't matter.
Okay.
With the VA loan, you do have to have a good credit score, and you know we have to prove that you can pay back the loan, right? In addition to that, there's the VA, the reverse. Those are two, and there's many different programs out there.
Can I just touch on the whole VA?
Yeah.
So coming to America, all right, I was told, okay, don't go to the army or don't go into service because you know you're gonna have to go to war. You know, so you get those negative myths, but they don't tell you about the benefits of all the programs that exist for our veterans, for people that serve. And so since you just mentioned it, I just want to say that to the community. Like, think about going into the service, and because there are so many things that are there for you, once
and your family.
Yes.
Right.
So listen to this, and I always say this, and I always make a joke out of it. If you were properly discharged, you didn't have no bad things going on with you, honorably discharged, and you're out and you're married, you the only co-signer could be is your partner, your husband or your wife, right? If the partner passed away, say the person that's receiving the benefit, you are still entitled to that. Once you don't go marry another man or woman, then you're still entitled to that benefit. You understand? There's so many pros and so many programs out there to help us to become homeowners and to enable people. It's just that knowledge is the key, and the lack of the knowledge is the problem.
Right.
It's imperative that we continue to educate our community. I do seminars all day long. Like, this is what I do. And on my radio, I'm on for an hour every day, so.
So I have a question. So when I was 23, I bought a house as well. It's a 2-family house in Irvington. We still own it. So every day people are calling me trying to get me to sell. So I know there's a story behind that, right, where back in the days, a lot of houses were underwater, right? So, even recently I thought we didn't have that much equity, but it turns out that the times change, right? So what advice do you have for individuals who might be haven't checked the equity in their homes and people are calling them trying to get a sale? Is there
Get them to sell.
Right.
I forgot how many quarters the city sends you an assessment of what your value of your property is. I promise you it's more than that. They send you a basic because they don't know, they haven't come into your house. Before you move on anything, make sure you get an appraisal.
Right.
Get an appraisal costs you a couple $100, but you actually know the value before you're going to sell, or before you entertain anyone. Knowing the value of your house, doing, and I do assessment on my own because I have the knowledge, but just simply go on the computer and put your house in, and Google will give you an assessment. But before that, it shows you how many houses will sell in the neighborhood. If the comps are close to your house, then this might be what the value could be, and you didn't have to spend money. People are calling your house because your information was sold. Remember that, right? It's sold from different, entities, and that's why it's very important to protect your information, right? So make sure you do that and find out before, because people always be like, cash and carry. They're in Queens. There are so many people, like this young lady, I felt so bad for her. And my daughter is always like, Mom, you got to help. And I'm like, wait, let's hear the story first. Mom, I'm just like, Emerald, stop telling. My mother's going to help you. I'm like, please don't do that. Let's find out first, because now they're like, she's my savior. And what if I cannot help? So, this young lady came in and she wanted credit repair, and she told us her story. She lost her house. Somebody came, knocked on her door, showed the deed, and told her she had to leave.
Oh, wow. She
was paying someone to modify her house, modify her loan to help her. She fell on hard times. When I looked at her credit, so one way to stop a sale on your house is filing bankruptcy, but it doesn't go through. I'm not going to go into it in detail, for legal purposes. But she had on her credit board 17 different bankruptcy, petition to file for bankruptcy. So I looked on it and I said, did you filed for bankruptcy 17 times. No, she filed for bankruptcy once.
Wow.
She also was paying these people to help her modify and save her house. Knowledge,
Right.
knowledge. She lost her house and she was in a shelter. Those stories break my heart. You know, and this time my daughter's like, help her. I was like, I can't. This was 3 years ago. What am I going to do now? You know? So I always tell people, even if you are in trouble, you're losing your house. The man left. The house have too much violation. You don't want the house. You want to walk away. Call me. Call me because I can help you. There are options.
Right.
There's options. The bank will give you cash for keys, $3,000 to $4,000. Where are you going with that in this time? You know, so there's things that we could do. When I say that I do the whole process, you know, I really feel like I have a good hand on it, what it takes to become a homeowner. I don't know about stocks and bonds, so I'm not going to talk about it. My wealth building starts and ends with real estate. Maybe later on I'll invest in some stocks. I did buy one and it did well, and that's the only one. But the point is that I made sure that I was knowledgeable about the key things, starting with credit. And then, I mean, it's a gamble sometimes because I buy houses from auctions. Like one time I bought a house on a website, auction on a website. So you don't see inside the house, you know, bare minimum, you know about the house. So me and my dad went in and the water main in the basement. My dad, I was 20 pounds less, and my dad is like the same weight. We turned on the water main. Kid you not, I felt like the water was shooting me off the ground. So you can buy a house. It's gambling, you know. But I wouldn't say for anyone that's new in becoming an investor or trying to be or an entrepreneur to go get a house on auction. But there are ways. I go on the steps of the courthouse and buy a house in different ways. But if you're starting out, look for a house that has some equity in it. Right. And it doesn't have to be a whole bunch of equity. You know, my friend, he is a developer, and he bought land. And he was like, Jen, I'm going to build these little houses. It's in Alabama. And I was like, wait a minute. I have somebody that does module homes, prefab home. I don't know if you guys know about that. The house goes up in less than 30 days. And guess what? He was able to build 10, recovered his money in like so little bit of time. So there's programs out there that can help you.
Right.
There are things that you can do. Just knowledge is key. Google is my best friend. Can I tell you like anything I need to? And then I do my research.
Right.
You know, but I feel like it all starts with credit, and I keep going back to that, you know?
Right. That's the one thing I was going to say. I want to go back to it. You mentioned you would check your credit every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So what's the benefit of that?
To see, I would have saw that 180 and been able to get on it right away.
Right away.
You know, certain things. Now I got to backtrack. I got to go to this one, that one, get this. The person might not be there anymore. There's so much. But also to verify that there's no inaccurate information on there. You know, there's a lot of fraud that's happening, you know. And I'm going to touch on business credit because we do that as well.
Right. Before you go on the fraud aspects,
and I had another follow-up too.
So, can you talk about the need to like put a fraud alert?
Fraud alert is something that's placed on your credit report, and you can call up and put it yourself. But with my company, I offer it for free. Before they used to charge you. It helps you because when someone's applying for a credit, they're going to either call you to verify whatever means that you gave them in that fraud alert when you got it, the program you got. They will call you before you are able to get that. If you're in person, they're going to call you and say, Miss Such and Such, can you verify this information? And if you're applying online, then they call you back on the number that's on your credit report to ask you information, personal information that only you would have the answers to. So fraud alert, very important. A lot of people don't like it because when you're going to get stuff, it's an inconvenience, you're not getting approved right away, but it protects you.
Right.
Yeah.
And another reason that you should have your credit, look at your credit every 2 weeks, the information is accurate, because simple things. If you're applying for credit, right, and you have a bunch of wrong addresses on there, you're not going to get approved right away. And people are like, what? Think about it. I'm a creditor. She lived 15 places and she's 20 years old. She jump around. What is she up to? Like, I'm just thinking in my head how they could possibly think. Like, how are we going to be able to locate her? When someone puts a judgment on you, they're putting a judgment and they're going to try to backtrack every address. They're going to send that judgment to every address on your credit report. So the less addresses that, you know, and people don't understand that. The important things is to make sure that your current information is on there. Accurate information. It's easier to get approvals. You're going to get denied 100% of the time if you have inaccurate information on there. You can, like, for my credit repair process, you have to verify information. We get the credit report, and I send a link to Experian. Anyone can get Experian.com. It's free for 30 days. Reason I use that, it's a credit bureau, and it's accurate, and it updates all the time. You have to verify yourself before you get that account.
Right.
I have clients that used to come in. I'm no longer doing it in the office, and they can't verify their own information.
Wow.
How are we getting your credit report? Do you understand? Wow. It's such a like, it's such a headache. Verifying, making sure that it's accurate. Back to credit, business credit. As a business owner, you should never use your personal credit to finance your business. Let me tell you, your business credit does not show up on your personal credit once you're paying. When you don't pay, then it shows up on there. So why would I, you know, use my personal credit cards, my personal everything for my business? It's important to understand that you're the guarantor of your business. Your social security number is going to be used. But after that initial, you could buy cars in your name, you could buy houses in your name, and you could get loans in your name. In the pandemic, people were able to get business credit loans because they had business credit. The ones that had it, they had more. You know, there was so much available. Stop using your personal credit for your business. You know, we help you access capital. We help you build a business credit. You know, so it all ties in, you know.
And I know we are probably close
Yes.
to that time.
Oh, we are.
But do you have any final questions?
So final questions. So the thing is, I had like a whole list of questions, right? But really, you've given information that touch on all of those points. I guess right now, I would say thank you very much for all of the information, and that we're here to stress that the knowledge is important and the access to the knowledge is important. And so even though we may be busy with our lives, our families, work and stuff like that, if you can't do the research yourself, it's very important to reach out to someone like Jennifer who can help you along the way to give you the information that could possibly be helpful. Other than that, that's about it for me.
Yeah. And any last words for the audience?
For the audience, make sure you have a credit monitoring system. You know, the Bible speaks about a wise man will build wealth for generations to come. You want to be able to do that for your children and your children's children. So it has to start somewhere, you know. You have to break the generational curse. You know, West Indians, we come from foreign countries. We don't know about credit. Learn. Start. I can bill your credit over $700 in less than 2 weeks. In less than 2 weeks. It's imperative that you understand where you are. You know, knowledge is the key. Believe in yourself. Know that whatever the tools that you need to be who God intended you to be lies in you. It's up to you to ignite it. And that's my final word.
And in that note, we are going to wrap up today's session. Thank you very much for joining in. Thank you, Commissioner King, for being a part of today's session. And to our special guest, Ms. Jennifer Rampersad, thank you for being here. To the City of Newark Caribbean Commission members who are not here, thank you for being a part of our team, the Office of International Relations and Diaspora Affairs, the Newark Studio team for providing the space, and the City of Newark for having a platform for us to come and speak to you.